Test, test.
I'm David Martin.
Hi, David.
Hi, how are you?
Happy I will
Good.
do. I heard what shake hands. It's so odd not to do it, right? Virtual
Yeah.
handshakes. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate the elbow thing. I'll do fist bumps.
Richard, let me get a test on your microphone.
All right.
Yes.
Are we good? Yes, thank you.
We are already streaming.
Okay. Are we good? Are we good? Okay.
We're actually already live.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's go. Well, okay. Welcome to the 10th virtual meeting.
Wait.
Okay. Welcome to the 10th virtual meeting of the Rotary Club of Park Cities. It's a great day to be a Rotarian. We have Councilman David Blewett today, so it's going to be a fantastic program. We welcome not only our club members, but all the people in 5810 and others who are watching with us this afternoon. Before we start, I want to read a statement from our member, C.C. Colley. You need to know a little bit about CC if you don't already. Our club does, but others of you might not. CC was twice district governor of this district in Rotary. And more than that, he is a World War II veteran. CC was on the Blue. He was a young officer on the Blue. You're looking at a picture of CC at age 21 now. Of course, as you might guess, CC is well into his 90s now. And probably could have come, but it's just not a good idea. So he has given us a statement, a really great statement for Memorial Day. Keep in mind, he was on the Blue all the time during the war. He was also in Tokyo Bay before the war was over with. They actually went in under what might have been combat conditions. But right after the war was over with, CC was on the Blue in Tokyo Bay, 1,000 yards off of the Missouri, able to see MacArthur and Nimitz, and they broadcast all the surrender protocols, and he got to hear that. There are very few people who have had that experience who are alive at this day, and so it's a special time to hear from C.C. Colley a Memorial Day message. I'm going to read what C.C. has written. Next Monday, May 25, is Memorial Day, the day that we pause to remember those who have died for our freedom. During the 20th century and the first 20 years of this century, our 626,000 U.S. servicemen made the ultimate sacrifice during the 7 major conflicts around the world. Each of these persons represents a family, a mother, a father. It's right that we never forget those who have died for us. The majority of these casualties, over 405,000, were in World War II, which ended in Europe 75 years ago this month, and 3 months later in the Pacific. If it were not for the sacrifices of these 405,000, we would all be speaking German or Japanese today. When a man or woman puts on the uniform of the United States, that person is saying, I am willing to die for your freedom. Excuse me. I'm willing to die for your freedom. We must honor those in uniform who are defending us now, and we must never forget those who died for us on the field of battle. That is such a beautifully worded tribute to those who have died on Memorial Day, a special message from C.C. Colley. And now I will give our invocation, followed by our national anthem. Father, today we remember those who gave their lives for us. So many, we stand on such broad shoulders. Thank you for all who have fought and all who have served, and thank you for those who serve today as responders in the midst of our virus, who put their lives on the line in hospitals and in essential businesses. We thank you for all of them. We give thanks for those in whose shoes we follow. Help us have the courage and the sense of sacrifice that they have modeled for us. We pray this all in your name. Amen.
Wow, I love Cece's picture, and what a beautiful tribute. That was really fantastic. Is it just me, or does Kyle Marmillion kind of look like Cece?
He does. I didn't even think about that, but that's true.
That was really cool. Thank you, Cece. That was really special, and thank you for your service. Our marketplace sponsor today is David Goodson of RLG Consulting Engineers. RLG Consulting Engineers was founded in 1953 and provides civil engineering, structural engineering, and surveying to clients across Texas and the United States. Over the past 64 years, RLG has worked on iconic DFW projects, including the SMU campus, Baylor Hospital, Presbyterian Hospital, and North Park Center. Their recent projects include Victory Park, West Village, the M-Line Tower, and offices for FedEx, Raytheon, Capital One, and the Perot family. The RLG staff includes 25 professional engineers and over 85 total employees with offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Peoria, Illinois. I look forward to hearing the story behind how they have people in Peoria, Illinois. That's awesome. Club members David Goodson and Stuart Markison serve as CEO and COO, respectively. They run the company founded by Ray Goodson, a past president of Park Cities Rotary. I love the Park Cities legacy that RLG Consulting has with our club. Please help me thank David Goodson and RLG Consulting Engineers for their sponsorship.
All right, we're going to have a patriotic yard competition. It's going to be so much fun. I would almost predict that even though we can't have the full parade this year, that we're going to be doing some things that we may want to replicate next year as part of the full parade. A yard competition, a community spirit award, patriotic art. The children are going to be drawing things. People in neighborhoods are going to be putting together neighborhood patriotic yard exhibits. And individuals are going to be entered individually with their patriotic themes. So get ready and stay tuned for our 4th of July celebration, Stars, Stripes, and Service. Again, we hope to be in Maggiano's in July. We'll see. But in between, let's support Maggiano's. They've always supported us. We should be picking up from them when we pick up our food. Now, if you feel good about it, you know, a lot of these restaurants are open. They're taking as much as 50% capacity now, the ones that are open. So try to patronize Maggiano's. I was so proud. You should be proud too at last weekend's food truck distribution by the North Texas Food Bank. I remember Trish Cunningham as the chief executive of the food bank, and nobody nationally has been doing better and bigger work than the North Texas Food Bank. Miles of people lined up to get food from the food trucks in the Fair Park area this week, and we are the ones that funded one of those trucks, so we should be proud of being part of Now, yesterday I delivered the lunch to Agape Clinic. I will tell you, it is fun. They have such a great operation going there over on Junius. We're providing a lunch on certain days, and so if you want to fund that or if you want to be part of that, it is great fun, and you feel like you're helping a staff that is that needs to be there all the time and don't need to be going out to get their lunches. So be a part of that. I will say also we've been doing some other things. We've basically the Ronald McDonald House has been getting food that we picked up at Cisco Grill. So food's being delivered by the Rotary Club of Park Cities. And amidst all this giving, don't forget RI and your gifts to the Rotary Foundation and to our own foundation. Any basically gifts you make this time of the year to our foundation will go to the ABC project, the Agape Bonton Clinic project. I want to say one other thing. You may have seen something in the Dallas Morning News that where Darren Babcock was talking about how tough it is. Do not worry. He was talking about all nonprofits. Darren says they are doing just fine at Bonton and will continue to do so. And with our new mobile clinic and all the work we're doing to ABC, we're going to help with that. We're in the 90,000 plus range right now of 150,000 in fundraising. And so hopefully we will meet that mark and Bonton will have a clinic provided by Agape. Program committee, always let us know programs. We're programmed through mid-August, I think, but would love to have your ideas. You can let Jeff Sheehan know his emails on the list. Now, one other thing I need to say before we have David Blewett. This next Friday, the 29th, is going to be a tailgate. It is going to be at the Biblical Arts Center. It's going to be in their parking lot, and with that tailgate comes a ticket to the museum you can use Friday or anytime you want to. From 12 to 1, we've got the parking lot at Biblical Arts Center. It's a tailgate. Bring your own lawn chair, bring your own snacks or lunch, and we will have a chance to talk about the club and for you to share. We'll have a microphone and you'll get a chance to share. So it's going to be great to see each other face to face. So make sure and mark 5/29 at noon at the Biblical Arts Center to attend a tailgate.
I am really looking forward to next Friday's tailgate, seeing everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to having Councilman Blewett up here momentarily. We're really grateful that he's here live in our studio, and we are hopeful that he can join us in person for a regular club meeting later this year when after everything is rolled back out at Maggiano's. We're really thrilled to have him today. So Councilman Blewett was elected to the Dallas City Council in June of 2019 to represent District 14. He is dedicated to improving the lives of all Dallas residents by focusing on mobility, economic and neighborhood vitality, and public safety. Currently, Councilman Blewett serves on 5 city council committees, including serving as vice chairman of economic development and serving on a number of other committees, including environment and sustainability, public safety, transportation and infrastructure, and the ad hoc judicial nomination committee. He is a 35-year resident of the district and has lived through the remarkable changes that have occurred in Dallas and understands our history as we carefully plan our future. David attended SMU on a football scholarship, graduating with a business and philosophy degree in 1989. He was transferred to Detroit, Michigan to work for Tenneco, and while there, he pursued an MBA in finance at Wayne State in 1993. In 1994, he returned to Dallas to work for a national mortgage bank where he trained real estate professionals on the Community Reinvestment Act and other various governmental programs. In 1998, he left to start his own real estate finance company. He and his wife, Kristen, have 7 children. Yes, you heard that right. 7 children who have all attended Dallas ISD schools. And they have been active volunteers in their neighborhood associations, as well as various groups dedicated to improving public schools. I am really thrilled that he is here today to talk to us about where Dallas is going, and his thoughts on COVID-19.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to be here. That's a long intro. Makes it sound like I'm a politician or something. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about Dallas, happy to talk about City Council, and maybe some other questions you might have that maybe some of your audience members would like to hear. So how do you want to start this off? I don't even know if this is on. Is this working properly, or because I can't hear myself, so are we doing all right? Okay, good.
Sound good.
So yeah, we're in studio, so this is kind of new for me, right? Everything, I guess maybe you guys are usually at Maggiano's, but now you're doing studio presentations, and do you do this often, or how does
Every
this work?
Friday while,
During
this-
COVID, but so before that though, this is fairly new since COVID.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Well, I for the last 3 months, I kind of took a break from my normal council job because this isn't what I planned on. I think most people didn't plan on doing this. I can tell you, you commented on my 7 children. I'm sure that anybody that's listening right now would recognize kids are home, you're home, I'm home, everybody's home. We're all drawing on our Wi-Fi. We're all fighting for Wi-Fi. We're all trying to do Zoom calls. We're all trying to work, maybe do school work. So it's been kind of chaotic for me, but I can't cry because I think everybody's in the same boat. So yeah, it's our new normal, right? So I'm a little rusty on doing interviews because part of the job lately, we haven't had a lot of social interaction. So yeah, I got to figure out maybe how to do my job again.
So is the council meeting via Zoom?
We have a more of a secured network called WebEx, which I don't know how modern it is. I think Zoom's a little more user friendly. But yeah, we stare at computer screens pretty much all day on Wednesday every week. Our meetings are, for people who haven't watched our council, they typically start at 9 a.m. We take care of all kinds of just issues for the city. We've got budgetary issues. We've got all these different departments that have different things that have to be voted into effect by us. Some of them involve money, some of them don't. Then, depending on how long it goes, we'll take a break for lunch. We come back at, say, 1 o'clock, and then we do zoning changes and different issues for development. So there has to be a separation between the morning session and the afternoon session. You know, what I've learned in the last year or so is interesting is City Council is a lot like Congress. I mean, you mentioned the committees that I'm on, and so a lot of the work that gets to council goes through the committees. We make changes to them. We try and modify them in a certain way and see if they have enough support to then get to full council. So we debate everything that happens at the city. I mean, everything you touch has to go through us, and it has to go through a vote, and the city manager and our department heads actually implement the things that we vote in. So long days, staring at a computer screen, and it's actually really hard to have interaction with our constituents. So I'm actually doing a few more Zoom calls as more like town hall type situations, and that's pretty good, but it's still pretty hard. But again, everybody's in the same boat. My kids are stressed, my wife's stressed, we're all trying to figure out how to do it.
So when will y'all go back to having live city council meetings?
I was actually running a little late today, and it's a good thing. There's a lot of traffic, and so things are changing. I have a lot more work. A lot more people are emailing and asking for certain things to be done, and that's a good thing, because the first month or so after COVID hit, everything kind of stopped. I mean, downtown, most of the non-essential, which is a term I'm not really in love with, but the non-essential employees would work from home. Very few people were downtown. Most councilmen did not go downtown. And so things got slow as we tried to figure it out. In the last week or two, things have really picked up. We've reformulated or reconstituted our committees. We'd suspended them for a while. So we're having committee meetings now in addition to just regular council. That then starts work in terms of projects that we're working on through the committees. Staff is now having to do more work to come down and work to get us ready for these committees. And the constituents seem to understand that we're working again. And so the emails are coming in with potholes and so, all kinds of speed racing and all kinds of things are happening. The city is coming back and we're going back to work.
So how do you feel about where Dallas is regarding to COVID? Richard was telling me just before this that the Washington Post said that they predict Dallas is going to become a hotspot, but it seems like numbers keep decreasing.
In terms of population,
As far as people getting COVID, I mean, do you think we're going to become a hotspot?
we had an ad hoc meeting yesterday that involved Dr. Philip Wang, the county health director, Dr. Bray, who is University of Texas, I believe Dallas. He crunches data for all the COVID numbers. I had a chance to talk about it. I'm not an epidemiologist. We all think we are these days. The number of people who send me emails and comment on things that I do, we all Google, we all read articles, we all have time. So there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions. I don't try and debate what COVID is. I don't try and debate really how infections transfer. That's not really what I do. What I do is I try and talk about capacity. Because from a government standpoint, the thing that I always cared about was, first of all, we were told about flattening the curve. That was the whole point of government intervention, is we were going to flatten the curve, which meant take the number of infections, bring it down to a level that it didn't overwhelm our healthcare capacity, meaning the ICU beds, the ventilators, just general hospital capacity. In Dallas, and we even got prepared at the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center for an overflow, just in case the infections went up to a point where our normal hospitals couldn't handle the crush. Well, that never happened. So we never used the K. Bailey Hutchison for the overflow. Our capacity at the local hospitals ranged between, say, 30%-ish for ventilators, 60%-ish, 65%-ish for ICU and hospital beds. And so from my perspective, we never really had that overwhelming crush at our hospitals, never had the stress on our capacity. So that was flattening the curve. So whether the curve came or not, it was definitely not what we were most nervous about. So the next step then is, what do you do to prevent or slow down the infection rate in terms of people that are most vulnerable? And I don't think that what we did long term was the right move. And I've written about this in the Dallas Morning News. I wrote an op-ed about it, where I think that we should have been more targeted to our most vulnerable, the older people, people in nursing homes, and been a little more aggressive on opening up. Even under 17-year-old kids, we haven't had any mortality at all. So why we shut down all the schools, I think we were nervous at first, and now we know more, and we should have opened things up a little faster. But that's not my decision. All I can do is point out capacity and try and change the narrative a little bit about what we should be talking about. So where we are now is the governor's kind of taken over. So we had an emergency order in the city. The county had an emergency order. We kind of had conflict about whose rules were kind of applying. And that doesn't matter anymore either. Because again, the governor has taken his position and his role to be the emergency manager of the state. And he has decided that we're going to open up under his terms, his phases, and any conflicts from the city or the county, the state wins. So he has decided phase one was May 8th, I believe. I'll get the dates wrong. So many changes. We had 7 changes to our orders in the last few weeks. So we are at 50% now, or it's today Friday, right?
Right.
So we're 50% now for restaurants, 25% capacity for bars, which starts today. We are opening up more of our athletic facilities that are small groups, golf courses, tennis courts, things like that. We are going to be opening up the Arboretum. I think it's June 1, the zoo. So things are coming online in terms of opening up. We're all nervous about what that looks like because we don't really know how much this thing can infect other people. We kind of keep distance, right? We talk about masks, all these things that they put out there that we should do. We're not really sure how effective any of it is. So we're going to be very careful as we open up these larger events. But the governor's in charge, and 50% today. And I think if it's successful this weekend, we'll be looking at a higher percentage. And I anticipate, unless there's some kind of a relapse, if that's the right word, when the virus comes back, I think in the next month or so we'll be up and operating. And if that happens, what I'm feeling is the city of Dallas has cabin fever. If the infections aren't really what we thought they were 3 months ago, And if the mortality isn't what we were told it was 3 months ago, yeah, people are out. I was on Greenville Avenue, Henderson. I was over on the Katy Trail today. I went for a jog with some other council people, and
You were
people are
socializing
out.
with other council people, so y'all are friends outside of things?
Oh man, yeah. So I never thought it happened, but yeah,
That's
I'm actually
great.
apparently I'm on council and I'm a government person and I have friends down there. It's odd. I'm a business guy, and I've only been in office for an hour or a year. So yeah, there's 5 of us. We're not really factionalized and left or right. We're factionalized on getting things done. We're all new. Those of us that are there's 6 of us that were new on council, and we've kind of built up an alliance with each other. And yeah, we are friends.
That's great. So how do you feel about schools in the fall?
You know, I joke that as a politician, I have to be careful because I have a lot of opinions. So I'm a dad, and I want to tell my kids one thing. I'm a neighbor. I want to tell them certain things. As an elected official, I have to be careful because I can't just really put my opinion out there, because then people actually come back at me like they hold it against me. It's kind of odd. I can't just say things. I can tell you my oldest daughter is going to be a sophomore at University of Oklahoma. My next daughter is going to be a freshman at the University of Iowa. They have been told that school is going to be back in session, so they should get ready in August to go back to campus. So they're excited. At DISD, my other kids are DISD, high school and middle school and elementary. And I don't know yet what that's going to look like. I've heard different things. I've heard there may be some kind of a staggered school. What I know, and I joke about it, is we've all had a little experiment with homeschooling. Some of us like it, and some of us are ready for our kids to go back to school. So in my house, I love my kids, but we're ready for them to go back to school. So I'm very
Sure.
hopeful for the fall. But I mean, I kind of long-winded on this, but I am hearing that if there is some kind of a resurgence of it in the fall, that would be a bit of a problem.
So what are you most excited about for your term as councilman?
Well, my council district is a strange one. It's small, but it's made up of very aggressive, involved neighborhoods. So I've got downtown, which has become a neighborhood into itself. We've got 10, 12,000 people that live in the central business district right now. You've got the uptown area, which includes West Village and Turtle Creek, Cedar Springs. So that area, they're all diverse neighborhoods. You jump the east side of Central Expressway, south of Northwest Highway. I've got the Village Apartments, which is a huge complex of rentals. You go a little bit south of there, and I've got all the M Streets and Vickery Place and Junius Heights and Lakewood Heights and all these old 1920s and 30s neighborhoods that have become very family-oriented. So you've got older people in high-rises, you've got singles, you've got families all over the place, and a lot of development. So what I'm most excited about is connecting those neighborhoods. I mean, that's the thing that makes my district work. So I'm not a huge scooter guy, but if scooters can be managed, then we can help people kind of get around with some mobility options. I like crosswalks. I like people we have a lot of trees, we have sidewalks, we want people out walking and doing things. So I like connecting through walking and biking and scooters. And all the developments that I see incorporate that. I have a lot of high rises and things that we're working on to bring into Dallas. It's good for the tax base, it's good for the city. But you'll see these guys, and they incorporate wider sidewalks, they incorporate green space, they incorporate the things that the next generation of Dallasites want. That's fun. That's actually cool, seeing the urban, suburban aspect of my district come together. And I get to play a role in that.
So what's something that you would really like Dallas to have that would be like one of your goals that you're really working on helping to push forward?
How come you didn't give me these questions before I got here? So I got to think about this. So say this again for me.
So is there something that, like, do you have a dream for Dallas, something that you would really like have happen in Dallas?
Dallas politics is fascinating, right? We're under a 14-1 system. So it's 14 individual districts that represent very diverse, disparate aspects of the city. And then the one is the mayor, who's the one citywide person. And within that context, there are some people on council that are more activist-oriented. They have issues they really care about. And then there are people like me. I'm more of a manager. I just want things to work. So for me, I look at our revenue that we bring in. I look at how we deploy that and the way that we invest that to make the city function better. That's what I want. I want a functional, efficient city. I'm not really an activist, so I can't really point to 2 or 3 things that I really want that are that's just not who I am. So the activists on council, I let them do that, and if those issues work for me, I'll support them. If they don't, I won't. But I want the city to work. There's a bunch of things that are happening that I don't like, so I try and stop things that I don't like.
What are some of the things you don't like?
Well, there's a hot one. I don't know who's watching this today, but there's an issue with, it's a spur of a highway between Central Expressway 45 and 75. It's called I-345. It's an elevated highway on the east side of downtown. A good portion of it's in my district. A good portion of it's in Adam Medrano's district, District 2. And it's between Deep Ellum and downtown. So we're talking about dropping that highway in the next 10, 20 years. But in the meantime, there's a proposal to do some kind of development things underneath it that I don't think plays a role in connecting the neighborhoods like I talked about. So we're going to see how that unfolds in the next week or so. It's going to be a divisive issue. Some people want it, some people don't. But I think that the main thing is, if you think about connecting neighborhoods, it doesn't do it. It keeps them separated. So I don't think I can support it. We'll see. Next week will be interesting.
Good deal. So how do you feel about the Dallas budget, especially with all this extra expense that COVID-19 has caused? How do you feel about the budget?
You know, I joke that that being on council, there's no handbook. You don't really get to read a manual and say, this is how you do the job. You look at your district, you look at who you are, and you define the job. And you also don't get to pick the issues that come at you. Like, I didn't plan on being on council and having an epidemic come in and wipe out our city budget. But here we are, right? So we have to react to it. And we are talking about between $25 and $33 million in shortfall just to finish out the budget, which gets us through October 1. The 2021 budget, which budget season starts in October, and we'll start negotiating it August and September. We'll have to finalize it in October. We're talking $100 to $200 million in cuts based on sales tax really coming down, based on, we're not really sure what's going to happen with commercial valuations on property taxes, but it's a big cut. And what do I think about it? I think that the city of Dallas needs to understand that massive structural changes are coming. These are not going to be nibbling around the edge type cuts. These are going to be big cuts, and they're going to be painful. Not happy about it, but you know, I'm here, and I'll do the best I can to protect the most important things that we care about. But the budget's going to be really hard. The best thing that I could tell your viewers and anybody that wants the budget to be better, I mean, I hate to tell you to go spend money, but go spend money. Go to restaurants, go to bars, buy things. I mean, I love Amazon, but don't buy on Amazon. Buy things that are local. Things that will support our local businesses, that provide sales tax and provide jobs. If our economy gets up and running again, our budget will start to heal itself, and that $200 million shortfall might only be 100, maybe it'll be 80. But it really depends on what happens with the economic output of the city of Dallas, which is, sadly, sales tax. So go buy things locally.
Because y'all are going to have to cut back on police and fire, too.
I am not going to talk about cutting police and fire, because it's like...
I thought that was what the mayor had made a comment on recently.
What we know is that public safety is 60% of our budget, and we have to cut a significant amount of our budget. And once we start doing that, it's going to be painful. So I don't really want to get into exactly where those cuts are at this moment, but I think we're all going to have to tighten our belt, and it's going to hurt everybody.
I like that message. Shop local. That's good.
Shop local, exactly right. I mean, small business is what makes it all work, and sales tax, quite frankly, comes from that and makes the city work.
So how does Judge Jenkins figure in with Dallas City Council?
Yeah, I get that a lot. I mean, it's funny. A lot of people don't think about city council until they need something. They also don't think about the county until they need something. So there's a lot of confusion. The city doesn't have any hospital. We don't have a health department. We actually contract with the county to be our health professional. They are consultants, basically. So the county health director becomes the de facto health director for the city. Now, the county is roughly 2.6 million people. The city is roughly 1.4 million people. So we're the biggest part of the county by far. So the mayor and the county judge, who's the highest executive in the county, should be partners on anything like COVID that applies to us. But there are conflicts sometimes when the mayor says our emergency orders are going to go this direction, and the judge says they're going to go this direction. And so they've had to kind of come into an alliance on how to manage this. But yeah, people have asked me, where's the mayor and this COVID thing? And the answer is the judge is de facto the leader on this health issue for the city and the county. And so it gets kind of odd as we navigate this. So yeah, Clay Jenkins is, he and I like him. We disagree on where we are with the capacity and how we should roll this out. But like I said earlier, that doesn't really matter that much anymore because we're now going to follow the governor's directives. And so Clay is going to follow the governor. The mayor is going to follow the governor. I'm going to follow the governor. And we're all going to hope that the infections don't go up.
Great. Well, we have a question from one of our viewers. If Dallas is one of the first large cities to open up, can we start advertising for tourism for late 2021 and early 2020 for late 2020 and early 2021?
I would love to advertise for convention business, tourist business, anything that would bring business and activity to the city. I follow, because I'm on the transportation committee, I follow the airport capacity numbers quite a bit, and it's kind of a chicken and egg kind of an argument. I would love for people to come, but if they're not comfortable coming, then you can advertise all you want and they're not going to come. So I'm looking at hotel occupancy, I'm looking at air traffic. Once there's more confidence, then you'll have more traffic, and then you'll be able to get a bigger bang for your marketing dollars. But the next week or two is going to be critical. If we can open up our system a little bit more, if we can manage the capacity numbers of infections and mortalities to a point where people feel confident, then it won't just be locals that'll feel confident. It'll be people in the surrounding areas who want to come here. We can get some convention business going again, fill up our hotels. That'll be good for the city too. But I think it's confidence, and the biggest confidence you can help promote will be getting out there safely, following the directives and the emergency orders that the governor has put out there that we're now promoting from the city. Be smart, be safe, and let's open up our economy in a way where it's durable. Because my fear is if we do something kind of haphazard, if we do something that causes us to have to lock down again, I think that'll be devastating. So we've got to be very careful as we do this. But yeah, the point about marketing for 2021 or 2022, I might wait to see what the numbers are in terms of, like I said, hotels and air traffic before I'd make big investments in 21 or 22. But we're coming back. It's going to happen. I can't tell you when.
So are y'all coordinating with the city councils for other cities like San Antonio, Houston, Austin?
That's a great question. I don't, and other council members have relationships with other council members in other areas. I have a really good friend who's on the Rockwall one. I know some other guys have Houston and San Antonio. I know that staffs, the Dallas city staff coordinates very well with other large city staffs to kind of figure out what they're doing that works or not. The mayors do too. At council level, I don't. But I definitely look and see what other cities are doing. But in terms of, if we're going back to COVID, Houston and San Antonio are under the governor too. So we're all in the same, Governor Abbott's orders, I pay much more close attention to that, because that's what we're under right now.
How about other events? I mean, do you think we're going to have concerts this summer?
Well, I'm an old football player, and college, I didn't make pro, but I love college football, and I'll get there on the pros a little bit.
Where all did you play? What position?
I was a defensive end and an offensive tackle in high school, and then in college I was defensive end at SMU. So I played for 3 years, and we had something called the death penalty, and it was the end of my football career. So I focused on school, got 2 degrees, and I can still walk, so my knees don't hurt. But I'm still a football fan. I still like it, and I love college football. It's fun. It's more than just a football game. To me, it's a community thing. It's social, and last year I got to go up to Oklahoma on Parents' Weekend and go to an Oklahoma game as an Oklahoma parent. It was kind of fun. So if we don't have athletics in the fall, I don't know what that I mean, that's a different environment for America without professional sports. So I know they're trying to get there, and I'm lumping professional sports with concerts because I see it as the same thing. I had a bucket list. I'll kind of cry. I had a bucket list item to see the Rolling Stones. They were coming to Fair Park. The Cotton Bowl, I think it was going to be this weekend, and it got canceled. And I would love to have seen the Rolling Stones, but I don't know when they could come back. I don't know when
Has
we're
it
gonna
been
do that.
rescheduled?
I don't think so. You know, so when we're going to do it, you know, the Arts District is in my district as well. So I've got all these theaters, and I've got the Perot, DMA, Wiley. I mean, all these different theaters, and they're wanting to open up too. So when I think of concerts, I think of any kind of venue where you have 100, 500, 5,000, 10,000 people. We're all trying to figure out how to open that up safely. You know, if you're going to have masks, how do you put on a presentation, an artistic presentation? If you're going to do 6 foot kind of distancing, how do you do that? What's an audience look like? These are difficult things. And I could say, hey, I'm not really worried about it. You know, we're 4 feet away and no masks, and I'm pretty good with that. But other people aren't. And you can't make them be comfortable. So it's critical, again, that we open up our economy slowly, safely, so that we have confidence, so we can get there. Once we get there, we'll have bigger events, we'll have higher capacity. Yeah, I think that's the way forward. I have other friends of mine on council who think that the solution is going to be a vaccine. And I just think that's not a safe bet. That's not my base case. My base case is we've got to deal with it, get back out there safely.
So
Other
you're
people,
interested in herd immunity?
I think well, again, I'm not an epidemiologist, but in everything I know tells me if it's a virus and if you can develop immunities to it, I would like to get it. I'm not afraid of getting it, not excited about it, but if I got it and I knew that I had some immunity, I would feel much better about doing all kinds of things. And that's why I'm a big advocate for random testing. You know, I've been pretty candid that I think what we're doing on the testing side is ineffective. We're testing people that are symptomatic, and I don't know what we do with that data. I think we should be testing everybody randomly, come up with a number that tells me that we hit 20% of immunity, or we hit 30% or something, that we've already gotten it, didn't know it, asymptomatic, all this. That to me gives me actionable data.
When do you think Dallas will have more testing capacity?
Well, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday. The capacity, the feds are funding it for a while. We're going to fund it for after the feds kind of cut us off. We've got some monies that we can use for it. Yesterday at our ad hoc committee meeting on COVID, I was talking quite a bit about random testing, and at the end of it, we talked about how we have money and we could go forward with an action item that would allow us to start doing random testing, and that's what I want to push for. That kind of data will give people confidence. So that makes sense to me. But in terms of just more testing in general, some people want it. People talk about it. They're talking about contact tracing, where you take somebody who's infected and then you go back in time and figure out who they've had contact with. That's very expensive and it's time consuming. And so I just don't think it's a nice idea. And if people want to do it, that's great. But, you know, we've had 7,000, 8,000 people that are infected. And I mean, statewide, we're talking about hiring 4,000 contact tracers, and we've hired, I think, 1,500. So we're just not going to do that. And maybe here or there, spot tracing we can do. But testing in general, random testing, in my mind, will tell us about herd immunity. It'll tell us about who's had it, who's immune, and let's get back out there.
Well, and so you have some college students in your family, and what message do you have for our 2020 high school graduates? You know, as they're choosing their degree plan, et cetera. I think it's fantastic that you have a dual degree in business and philosophy. It's my understanding that philosophy is the kind of degree that can really prepare you for all kinds of areas in life.
I love philosophy. That's what I wanted to get a degree in, but I came out of school thinking there's no jobs in philosophy. So it became a hobby for me instead. But because I had the ability without football to spend more time on academics, I was able to take my minor and turn it into a major. So, and oddly, I thought it was, again, a hobby. I actually used my philosophy degree today more than the business degree.
That's
I
fantastic.
mean, how to think, allows you to do almost anything, how to argue, how to debate, logic, all these things are great. But in terms of high school and college kids, my number 2 daughter's graduating and she's having a pseudo ceremony today. So I thought maybe my wife might have texted you, because we're trying to do a virtual graduation ceremony and it's weird. She's not excited about it. My number 2 daughter, my oldest daughter, who's going to be a sophomore, she's computer science and she's a real good math, science. She's what we say we want with women, the STEM, all the engineering and math. And so she's choosing that. She's really good at it and she's headed down that path and I'm supportive. I would like her to take some liberal arts courses so she could learn how to think. My number 2 wants to be a business major. Well, that's, what do I say to that? I mean, philosophy, it's a nice idea, but I'm not sure it should be your primary focus.
So what schools? So you said Oklahoma State or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, so it's 3 hours away.
Uh-huh.
And then Iowa's a little bit further.
Iowa. Wow.
University of Iowa, yeah.
How did she choose Iowa?
My kids, we went through the local elementary and then the magnet schools for middle and high school. And so my daughters are both graduating now from what's called Townview, which is, I believe, 6 high schools under one roof. So my oldest daughter graduated from the SEM high school, Science, Engineering, and Math high school. My number 2 is graduating today from the TAG high school. So it's about 100 kids in each class. So it's a small kind of a graduation thing. And because of that, my number 2 daughter going to Iowa really wanted to go to a big school with football and activities, because they don't have all that stuff at the magnet school. They barely have proms. They've got no football games. They didn't have that socialization. So that's what she wanted. And she wanted to go far enough away to reboot herself. And I think that's great. She can go somewhere away from high school friends, away from elementary friends, away from the neighbors and people she grew up with, and reinvent herself. I mean, that's what I did. I grew up in Denver, and I came down to Dallas because it was a great football town, and SMU was a great education and a great football program, and it was 800 miles away. And I came down here and didn't know anybody, and I got to reinvent myself, and it was a great opportunity to do so, and so I encourage my kids to do the same thing.
That's great. So are they all extroverts? I mean, that's pretty ambitious to go all the way up to Iowa and not know anybody.
She has, I say not know anybody, she has a roommate who is more of a family than a friend. And so the 2 girls are in a room together, and they're from Iowa, and so there's a little bit of a warm fuzzy.
Good deal.
Our friends' parents are there, like, I don't know how close they are, but they can disappear to the grandparents for a weekend if they need to. So it's not totally far away. And I'll have to figure out how far it is from Denver, because my dad's still in Denver, so he might be able to go see him too.
Well, that's exciting. We have some more questions from our viewers.
Yeah.
So what about providing streaming for arts events and sporting events for the community?
Actually, I had a great Zoom call with the arts community this past week, and they're talking about doing that. They, of all people, are going to lead the way on how to get through this with technology, because they're creative people. That's what they do. So they're looking at how to have theatrical productions without live audiences, how to stream it, how to do distancing. And I mean, they've got so many ideas. They're talking about restructuring the whole way you do presentation of plays and drama. And they've recognized correctly that all of us stuck at home, we're looking for content. We're trying to find things to do. We're finding out who's important to us again. That's why I said at the beginning, I don't like this concept of what's essential or not. I think a lot of us are looking around and going, it's not just the cop and the fireman that's essential. I need groceries. And that grocery person who works a little extra, that's essential services to me. Everything that we do now that we recognize is important. And I think the arts community is always kind of the first to get cut in a budgetary issue. I think we're going to look around and say, what do those guys do? They're putting on some cool presentations, and I think marketed properly, they're going to lead the way on a lot of this innovative way of doing it. That's
great. And guys may or may not feel the same way, but, what is essential service for a woman is, is also perhaps a little different. Nails and hair are pretty essential to the ladies.
I can tell you my wife was thrilled when the nails, her nail lady is not just a nail person, it's a friend.
Right.
So it's a social thing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So would you consider an app for contact tracing?
That's interesting to me. I think that, again, I talked about the number of people they want to hire statewide, and, we're way behind at the county and citywide level. But if you could do it yourself, now that's interesting to me. say that I have it. I assume you're talking about an app that I could go into, and I could say, personally, here's what I did myself. Technology taking away all the manpower, I like that a lot.
Yeah, the UK has a great app.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, that's the first I've heard of it. I like it.
Good deal. So how do you feel about travel?
I'm a big talker. I want to travel. I want to be the first to get on an airplane and go somewhere. I want to get out of Dallas and go to Denver for a summer trip or something. I didn't get a vacation last summer. I was a new councilman, and council takes a break for a month during July, and I had so much to do. All I did was do 6 or 8 meetings every day in July, and so I got no vacation with me or my family. So I wanted to have one this summer. Now we're talking about working through our break a little bit because we're behind, and I'll admit I'm a little nervous. I'm not sure I want to get on an airplane with all 7 kids right now.
Would you drive? How does that work for traveling with 7 kids? Do y'all have like a really big bus? Like, how does that work?
We started doing that, kept getting bigger vehicles, right? Started out with a Maxima, then got an Explorer, and then got a mid-size with a 3rd row, and then got a Sequoia that was an 8-passenger third row vehicle. And then we found out that we don't like to go everywhere together, so we divide and conquer. So we take 2 cars.
Great idea.
So we have 2 mid-size SUVs, and we've driven down to Florida, we've driven to Galveston, we've driven to Denver. So we've done that, but we've also flown. So we flew to California, and we were going to try and go to Boston, but I think that's off because Massachusetts is way behind on opening up. And,
Really?
and the best vacation we ever took, and you probably laugh, and people do, is we rented an RV. We rented an RV and drove to the Grand Canyon. I mean, it's like out of a movie, the vacation movies where you stop in the Great Ball of Twine and all this, and that's what we did. And it was the best trip we ever had.
So was it like an extra large RV?
It was pretty big.
Okay.
And the worst part is, if you ever seen it, it's these companies that go RVing or rent an RV or 1-800-RV. And so you're pulling in these RV parks. And the pros have it all lit up. And they've got Christmas lights, they've got AstroTurf, and they set up shop and they're ready to go. And we roll in with this RV that has a fake dog painted in the window, and it says, RV rental. And we drive in, and these people looking like, oh, look at that. The country folk kind of showed up. They don't know what they're doing here. And so we weren't accepted by the RV crowds. We were the outsiders. So next time I'd get one that didn't have the side logo, because then I want to be one of those guys.
To blend in.
I want to blend in. I'm going to bring my Christmas lights, AstroTurf. We're going to do it right next time.
I love it. That's
But it was
awesome.
a great trip. And anybody that's ever thought about, in today's environment, I think an RV could be a good option if you're nervous about air travel.
So, and how does it work being a city council person and working your real job?
In District 14, there's no such thing. I thought I could maintain my business, and it's been a struggle. The job is complex. There's a lot of things happening, and it's not just my district. I mean, I think most councilmen make it a full-time job, and so I've kind of put things on hold for a while. And for me, it was worth it. I wanted this job. I knew it'd be a time sacrifice. I knew it'd be a money sacrifice, and I'm okay with it. And it's been very rewarding, some of the things I've been able to do, and even in this challenge with COVID. It'll be rewarding also to try and help navigate this. But in terms of my job, weekends, evenings, I can fit it in when I can, but I have briefing books every week of 500 pages to read. We've got meetings all the time. It's a full-time job.
So do you have business partners that you work with that are taking care of things?
I have a couple of business partners who've been gracious, and they've been understanding, and they've been helpful. They won't be helpful forever, but certainly in the short term, we've worked out an accommodation that works. But yeah, I'd like to do this. I don't know how long I'll be in politics, but I like it. I think that I've learned how to do the job.
What kind of real estate projects do y'all do?
In the district?
No, your
Me?
company.
I'm more finance. I mean, I'm an old residential and small commercial finance guy. So, little mini apartments and different kinds of things like that. And I also did a lot of jumbo, single family stuff. For whatever reason, I just seem to do, $1 million purchase type deals. So residential finance, and I'll do it again. I'll get back into it and focus on it pretty soon. But I kind of folded my company underneath another company just because he has the support staff that could make it easier for me to kind of run deals through his company. So it's called BMC, and So I'm kind of with those guys as opposed to independent right now. And
What
we'll
kind of deals? So is that,
Well, commercial finance.
okay, and commercial mortgages?
Yeah, commercial
Okay.
mortgages, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what other political jobs are you interested in entertaining in the future?
That's a total setup question, because what I've learned about politics is as soon as you win a seat, you start thinking about the next seat. And even if you
Yeah,
don't,
goals.
even if you don't think you're going to do it, you start looking around and go, well, do you want to be on the county level? Do you want to be down in Austin? What do you want to do? And I will tell you, I always thought I'd run for Congress. That's what I thought I'd do. 20 years ago, I was planning on doing it. I was ready to do it. Spend 10 years, kind of get up and running. And then you wake up with a bunch of kids, and you figure you don't want to live on an airplane. And I said, that's it. My political career is over. I'm not going to do it. And then about 8 years ago, my council person, a lady by the name of Angela Hunt, term limited out. She was in my neighborhood in the M Streets, and I knew her fairly well. And I naively thought, well, I was on Crime Watch, and I was involved in a bunch of school issues and Greenville Avenue, St. Patrick's Day issues in terms of neighborhood stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to run for council. Why not? So I ran. There were 7 of us. I came in 4th, and Philip Kingston won. And so I said, well, that's it. You know, I guess I'm not going to be a local politician either. And then over the last 6 years or so, still involved in local issues, neighborhood issues, crime issues. And I thought about running in 17 against him and didn't, largely because I had a new kid. And so then this time,
Number 7?
number 7, came in 17. He's now 4 years old. And so this time, the kids were all kind of stable, out of diapers, we're good. And I thought there was an opening, and I wanted to do it, and I thought I could make a difference. So I went out with my wife, and I said, hey, we can't afford it. We don't have time for this. You know, Philip Kingston is a divisive guy, but he's a very smart guy, a very competent guy. People love him or hate him, but you cannot say he was ineffective. And, you know, you can't beat this guy. But I thought it was important, and I wanted to do it, and so we did it. But I talked to my wife about it, and she's like, you know, her thing is, what's your why? Why do you really want to do it?
I like that.
And the answer is because you want to. It's an easy answer, really. You think you could do a good job. You think you do better than the guy that's there, and you're willing to do it. And that's true of anything. Why do you have 7 kids? Because I wanted them. Why are you self-employed? Because I wanted to be. I mean, it's not really a hard answer. People overanalyze these things. You know, why'd the chicken cross the road? Because we wanted to. Political. I'm going to be a politician. I might do this for 8 years. I might do this for 4 years. I might run for another office. But I have to run next May for this seat, and I will do that. So that's an easy one. I'll tell you that I will be in this seat next year. But 4 years or 8 years from now, it's really hard to predict because, quite frankly, financially, I can do this for a while, but I can't do it forever. I have 7 kids, got to pay for college, and this job's just not going to do it. So how's that for a non-answer?
Yeah, well, I totally get it. And how much work is doing a campaign?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's not just opening up athletics and artistic venues and concerts. I'm not sure what campaigning looks like in this environment. Can you go door to door? Can you have rallies? Can you have town halls? Is everything going to be on Zoom, virtual? I mean, that gets interesting. So if we don't open up our economy and our society by the time the campaign starts in, say, January, February, I don't know what the campaign looks like. It's going to be weird. And if you're going to challenge an incumbent without being able to knock on doors, be totally reliant on paid media like mailers, I don't see how you get any traction. So campaigning in politics is going to be really odd in the short term.
Well, and I think it's great that you ran again. I mean, isn't it pretty unlikely to win the first time that you run?
It is very unlikely to win your first time. And actually, when I ran 7 years ago, the lady who had District 14 prior to Angela pulled me aside and she said, you did really well. It was Valletta Lil. And she said, you did really well. Well, thank you. And she says, Abraham Lincoln ran 3 times before he won. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, you're going to run again. And I go, no, I think that's it. I'm number 4. I mean, 3 guys beat me. She goes, no, you're going to run again. And so actually when I ran this time, I called her and I go, you know what, I'm running again, you're right. And she's like, I know, knew you were going to do it. So yeah, once it's in your blood, even though I came in 4th, I learned you can't read about running for office, you got to do it. You learn what works. You learn what money is effective and what money is wasted. And that's why a guy wins 2nd or 3rd time, is you know what doesn't work. Now I know what works. But in this environment, I don't know what's going to work.
I love it. Well, this time has really sped by. I have one quick question for you. So what are you reading right now?
I'm not reading anything for pleasure. All I do is read briefing books, and I get about 100 emails a day, and I try and keep up with them. And so anybody watching that thinks I'm not responsive, I'm sorry. I reply to specific questions on specific issues, but there are a lot of emails that I get that are kind of form, like 20 emails on one particular issue, and I don't like doing form responses to people. I either do personal, or if it's a supportive email where I'm already going to vote the way they want me to in terms of if we're on the same page, I don't find that something they're looking for because we're on the same side. But I would love to take a break, go on vacation. I love historical fiction. I used to be a big Michener guy and read about all kinds of things, and I'll get there again.
That's awesome. Well, this has just really been a delight. Jeff Sheehan is the chair of the day. Y'all are good friends, and
Yeah.
I know he wanted to be here. A lot of businesses are really providing strict guidance on, keeping their employees from going out. So he wanted to be here, and we look forward to having you back. You're really fantastic, and
Well, thank you.
not the usual politician.
Well, I didn't shave. I got the COVID beard going, so I will shave.
It works for you.
Well, thank you. And I will say lastly, in terms of businesses, the best thing, I get asked this all the time, what's the best thing about being on council? It is the best thing is you get to define the job the way you want it. And the most rewarding thing about the job is the people. I have people that come at me every day, they tell me I'm terrible, I got it. But every now and then you make a difference, and every now and then you come in contact with the people of this great city. It is awesome. We have navigated COVID, everybody's friendly, everybody in the business community is voluntarily, they're caring about their employees, they're caring about their customers. It's very encouraging to see that kind of interaction with people. Dallas is made up of great people.
That's awesome. Well, a book is being donated in your honor at Preston Hollow Elementary, and thank you again. You've really been a delight.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate time being. I can't even talk. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Really appreciate it. So next week, we're going to have a tailgate. I am really excited. I'm honestly like counting down the minutes. I'm so excited about this. And so bring your own lunch. We're not going to judge you, and we're not going to know if you have wine or beer in your thermos. So bring your lunch, bring your drink, and join us in the parking lot at the Museum of Biblical Art for a special tailgate. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so no program. We just really want to hear, other than we're going to have a State of the Union from our club president and president-elect, Barb. So it's going to be a really laid-back time. You're going to have time to share with each other about what you're excited about. And we can blow kisses to each other.
Hang on, one last thing. So, is that Texas Tech?
Texas Tech, guns up.
So I knew. So guns up. So old Southwest Conference rivals, and we're
Right.
friendly.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, you're a really diplomatic, friendly politician.
Well, Paula Blackman is District 9, and Chad West is District 1, and they're both Texas Tech guys, and all I hear is this, guns up.
Absolutely.
And my
They're
problem
fabulous.
is, SMU's got these pony ears, which isn't quite as aggressive, so we got to figure it out.
Good deal. Thank you so much. So join us next week. And now, without any further ado, we'll have the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.